Yeah, man, people, welcome back, welcome back. You don't know me there again. Yeah, we're live here again in already another topic about the Copa America. Today I'm zoned in. Yeah, a U.S. men's national team. A fan from the US, yeah, he is going to give his insight and give us a little insights what's really going on in the US camp, and also we are going to talk about which Concacaf team can go the deepest, can make that deep run in the Copa America this year. Will it be the Reggae Boys? Will it be the US men's national team? Will it be Costa Rica? Will it be Panama? Will it be Canada? Will it be the L3 Mexico? But let me get the man on here right now, the man himself, Ryan. Ryan, welcome. First time to the Carter Media House platform, man. How you doing?
Incredible. Love to be here, Nick. And it's great to be talking Copa America with you. Exciting times. Match coming up tonight. It's going to be great.
Yeah, look, this supposed to be, I think, when we met, when we supposed to play it in the Nations League, when my trip and everything got delayed and I didn't manage to make it to Arlington, that day, but it's well overdue, and this is the right time for us to be doing this at this moment. But, as we were chit-chatting for the last 5 minutes in the background before we came live, I saw you've been traveling a lot, man, in South America. Let the people know how was it, traveling for the last couple of months around South America, watching the Libertadores, watching the Brazilian League, seeing the beautiful sights of the different countries. How was it?
Oh, it's incredible. My YouTube channel is primarily about the U.S. national team and traveling to all their matches. But there was a gap in the schedule before this Copa America came up,
Yeah.
and got the opportunity to go down to Brazil, check a lot of their big clubs out. Incredible experience. I think people think there's not that much of a gap between maybe the football in North America and South America, but the gap is quite big. It's so fanatical. The crowds are incredible, and the level of play is really impressive. Something I don't think people are fully aware of. So it'd be great if some of our players, USA, Jamaica, were able to go down and play in Libertadores. That would be great.
Yeah. I guess the quality to get in those teams is very high. At stake. The Brazilian league is getting a whole lot of money. You could see so many players are actually coming back into the league. So you could see that it's not an easy league. It's not easy teams to get in. And look, Santos have gotten relegated last season, so that will show the competitiveness of the Brasileiro. But one thing though, what kind of gave it that eye opening with in terms of North American fans, in terms of when you see a CONCACAF Champions League, yeah, a Pachuca, Club America, you will see a LAFC fan. What's the difference with those fans that watching a game in terms of in the Maracana, a Flamengo, a Fluminense?
I think the Mexican League is good for fans.
Yeah,
Monterrey looks like a fantastic atmosphere to watch a game, but I would say as you mentioned Maracana and with Flamengo and some of these really big Brazilian clubs, I don't know if any club in the world really competes with the atmosphere that the fans create. I mean, it's crazy. It's like every game's like a final. It's like the craziest atmosphere you've ever seen. Like, I mean, people, they go crazy about Dortmund and things. And Flamengo or some of these other big clubs, it's like every match is like a Dortmund match. And they're not really getting talked about as much as, the European clubs, but it's just a mad atmosphere for sure.
yeah, man, I watch the Libertadores every time when there's a match week in the Libertadores. It's a massive tournament in South America. It's a prestige one. Everyone, the locals in South America, look forward for that tournament, especially the Brazilian and the Argentinian fans. Yeah, and also rest of the other countries around Ecuador. The clubs that in their country. But did you just manage to see games? Did you go to like any tourist site? Did you get to see the statue of the thing in the mountain in Brazil like this?
Ah, yeah, Christ the Redeemer, incredible. It's one of the wonders of the world. I think one of the seven modern wonders of the world. It's an incredible spot. Definitely, if you're in Rio, go check it out. Sensational. A lot of tourists, but it is quite something. And Rio, I went to Rio and Sao Paulo, both really cool cities. So if you get the chance, not very expensive. Going to Europe can be a very expensive time. Going to USA is very expensive. Brazil's very affordable, and yeah, can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, that's what I love to hear people say. It's very affordable to go to South America. It's very affordable instead of you take a 2 month trip into London to just to see some Premier League games. It will be crazy. You will be buying
Mm.
tickets every week, £100, £150. I know you could. I have a few Brazilian that play the football. They used to play locally in Jamaica. They're back in Brazil, and I think one of them support Fluminense, and he's like the tickets to go to our Libertadores game maybe like $30 $40. You cannot get tickets like that to go to a Concacaf champion game. At the likes of LAFC, it's way expensive. Look at even the Copa America. Tickets are just so ridiculous, and Ticketmaster is like a criminal when it comes on to buy a ticket. Other people can go on the website and purchase ticket and resell a ticket for 2 3 times extra regular prices. So it's very affordable. I think I probably make a trip next summer to Brazil, as it's one of the places that I want to visit. It's one of the places that I want to go and watch football, as it's a country that they said where football belong. The people, the passion, they breed everything football. But I mean, that's but you enjoy your vacation though.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic, and to go to all those clubs, I mean, I never at one point felt out of place. They're all very welcoming, the fans. As you said, it is extremely cheap.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the Brazilian league, you could be spending $10, $10 US to go to a match, and where are you going to get that? The beers are $2, $3. Where are you going to get that? In
Nowhere.
USA, and
Nowhere you're going to
it's
get that.
incredible. And to see professionals, top players, you go to Fluminense and you're seeing the likes of, Marcelo, and I'm sure John Arias, some really top players that they've got going on in the Brazilian league. As you were saying, like it's incredible. And definitely, I think more people will go because I think it's starting to get the attention it deserves. So definitely, while you got the chance, get down there, man.
One more thing about Brazil that I want to ask you about. Currently the US is in a period where we're experiencing summer. Now it's into going to that winter period. What's the difference? Because I guess at the time when you just went there, you would say it's maybe like what, fall season in South America.
Yeah, so yeah, I just came back. Sure, I just came back today, as we were saying, and I was in Rio, and it was like, even though it's their winter time, for in Rio, it was as summer in USA. I think where they're located, geography wise, it's always pretty warm in Rio. Sao Paulo as well can always be kind of warm. It's, I think, certain other places in Brazil, such as in the south of the country, Porto
Maybe like
Alegre with
in Gremio, maybe like you go in Belo
yeah,
Horizonte, you go up north, probably kind of a little bit chillier, close to the
it can
Amazon.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I think where Rio and Sao Paulo are, it stays fairly consistent weather-wise. But yeah, you start moving around further south towards, Argentina, Uruguay, where Porto Alegre is. I think it can start getting a bit cooler. And then north, northern wise, Fortaleza, Recife, I think that's pretty warm year round. So, you're never really a bad time to go to Brazil, to be honest.
Does it get a little bit cooler at night?
It can do. I mean, I think when I was just there, we were looking at 80s during the day Fahrenheit and 70s kind of at night. So
Mm.
very decent weather.
Maybe things will change in a month from now. They go deep into the winter period. You know.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that was, Ryan little vacation trip around South America, especially in Brazil. Beautiful, beautiful time, and I was tracking every scene on your Instagram story. But let's get into the Copa America. The Copa America, yeah, the US men's national team. Obviously, that's the country you support. How was it, expecting to see this prestige tournament coming to the US for the second time in what, 8 years?
It's great to see the tournament here. I mean, as you highlighted, it's a shame that the ticket prices are as high as they are because, some of these games are not going to be as full as they should be.
Yeah,
But it's great. It's great to, I think, for us to be involved in Copa America is fantastic. We get to play top teams, whereas normally, in the Gold Cup, it can kind of get a little bit repetitive. And so I think it's a great warm up for the World Cup for us.
yeah,
And it'll really give us a chance to see where we're at. So yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it's a big thing for us. We get two early games in the group. First game against Bolivia and second game against Panama to kind of
yeah,
really warm us up.
yeah,
Not too difficult, and then it
yeah,
really gets going. We play Uruguay that final game, and then it can
yeah.
really get
Yeah,
serious.
I guess, looking for Uruguay, you should take care of business is your first two games. Looking forward, the last game of that group stage, Group C, should be who will finish on top. And look, you're looking over your shoulder on Group D. Is it Colombia? Is it Brazil gonna finish second? Everyone in that group, just like the Reggae Boy group, will be looking at the Albe Celeste, which team will finish on top and which team will finish second to know, your quarterfinal opponent. But um, what you think about the current state, of this U.S. men's national team squad, going to this Copa America? As I said, you guys building for the World Cup.
I think, we came off that successful Nations League and it was, seemed kind of rosy. But then we got that reality check with the 5-1 against Colombia. And that was, a lot of alarm bells going off with that. But, to come back, be resilient as we were against Brazil, get a 1-1 draw and could have beaten them. I think it's positive signs. I think it's kind of calmed everyone down, and I think we go into the tournament pretty positive and optimistic on how things can go.
Yeah. You just said something about Brazil. How much people talk about Hendrick in Palmeiras?
Endrick is it's hard to explain Endrick's status at Palmeiras. I don't want to say it's not like a god level, but
Yeah,
he's so big. He's a hero. Even
yeah.
at 17, he's absolutely massive. His final game I was at, and the fans, they were in tears that he was leaving. They made a big
Wow.
display. I mean, he's even at 17, as I said, he's absolutely huge there, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a brilliant player. I've seen him play a few times, and he looks like the real deal, doesn't he? I mean, he looks
There's the
fantastic.
Brazilian fans talking about the Copa America locally on their side.
I think there's some pessimism. I think they don't really like how the team has been playing recently. They're not doing so good in the World Cup qualifiers,
Yeah,
and they just don't play that whole, the was it the Jogo Bonito, the
Diogo
beautiful
Bonito.
game. They don't really do that anymore. You don't
Yeah,
have those Ronaldinho kind of players anymore.
yeah,
Vinicius Jr. is, Ballon d'Or most likely, and he never shows up for Brazil. He never does well for them. So there's a lot of sort of indifference at the moment to the national team from what I saw.
yeah. But look, obviously, as I was saying, you have a pretty good young squad. I think this is one of your youngest squad in our Copa America since probably a decade ago. But when I told you earlier in the backstage when we were talking before we live, I said the U.S. men's national team, Greg Berhalter, he can actually put a starting lineup on the pitch where all of those players are playing Europe top five league. How you sums up, all of that with those talent. You said the golden generation. How what's the pressure will be like on these players to perform. Expecting to be at that level to show the fans that look, we are ready for 2026.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this is probably one of our best groups of players we've ever had. I don't really want to label them too much. They get this label, the golden generation. I want to kind of stay away from that because I think we're constantly now producing top players
Yeah,
because of the investment that's been made, in the infrastructure with the academies and just how much more serious football in the USA has become. It's a very serious thing. Um, but yeah, I think the players kind of got a wake up call with the sort of the backlash in the media after the 5-1 loss to Colombia. Even though it was a
yeah,
friendly, it was very clear that people were not happy and it was not okay. And so I like how they responded because they could have folded. I mean, Brazil are a top team, and no one really would have said anything if they had lost 3-4 nil like they had
yeah.
just done. So there's good resilience, but I think the players know. I think you look at the comments coming out from the players that they're not just here to make up the numbers. They want to win the tournament. And I know maybe from the outside, some people think that's quite laughable, but I think the players have the right mindset. Will they win the tournament? Probably not, but they have the right mindset going in that they're actually trying to win, not just to be there.
Yeah, I know. I think you guys, have been admiring, you guys squad. I was pointing out something yesterday on my live, and I was really reflecting on where it all started for the US men's national team and where it all goes wrong, for the L3 2017. I think that when you guys lost that game in Trinidad, that's when everyone realized, look, it's time to move on from the older heads. It's time to get through the young policy, get the young McKenny, get all the young players in the MLS academy at 15, 16, get them, shift them overseas in Belgium, Europe, Portugal. Shift as much as you can, and at least you can get a good starting lineup from those players that got shifted, and you could see the results at this moment. you know um so you guys have been building, for the last 6 years, these players. I think it's around 20 of these players in this current squad at this moment going to play in the Copa have a World Cup experience, have that minutes under their belt. Yes, you guys lost against Netherlands in the knockout round, but they should at least have some level of experience going into 2026. But again, this is another big, big, massive tournament, a building block, the Copa America. How good is this current crop of players, yeah, compared to the World Cup squad that just passed in Qatar?
Well, as you said, the squads are very similar, but they are getting better. I mean, a lot of these players are entering their prime now. Pulisic's coming off an unbelievable season. A lot of our guys have had really good seasons. So I think the World Cup in 2022 was a great building block. But now, yeah, they're starting to enter their primes. They're starting to get even better and better. So, yeah, definitely not to disparage, older U.S. national teams, because there's been some great teams down the years that I think didn't get the same level of respect because, in Europe it was, the Europeans didn't want to sign American players,
Yeah.
and now they're more open to it. So it's hard for me to say this is our best team ever because I really do like some of the older teams. 2014 was a really great team. 2010, the team in 2009 that went to the final of the Confederations Cup. So we've had good teams down the years, but this team, what I think is really promising about this group is the fact they are so young. And this could be something that goes on for years and years and years. We've got this tournament, we've got 2026, and then there's going to be a whole raft of tournaments afterwards where we're just going to keep this core group and then be adding all more youngsters that are coming through the ranks. So really, really exciting times.
First game is up against Bolivia, as we said, Panama. You cannot get it any better than that. Looking at those games, you beat Bolivia, I think the last two games, 7-0 combined scores. They haven't scored on you guys, since the last two games you guys played. The Panamanian, yes, Panama is right there, but they haven't get that edge over the US men's national team, for quite some while in a big tournament. So this is a CONCACAF team. They will actually fancy their self to beat the US, as well, because they playing this team week and week out in Gold Cup, the World Cup qualifier in the Nations League. So it's kind of it will be a tricky game, but the first game you guys should get that first win, against Bolivia, and then sets up the tournament against Panama. Is that you guys going to get that 3 points? Are you going to get something from the game? The Uruguay game will be tough, going up against a Marcelo Bielsa team, you know, that team, you know exactly what you're going to get. They're going to press, they're going to fight, they're just going to do anything to win a football game, but your expectation of what to expect in Group C from the US team.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, as you're saying, I mean, Bolivia should be really straightforward. I know Bolivia has their moments in South American
Yeah,
qualifying. They almost are all exclusively at home, when they play in the altitude of La Paz.
yeah,
They can get draws and sometimes some fluky wins against big teams. But if you play, you're playing in Dallas in an air conditioned stadium. It should be 3 or 4 nil, to be honest.
Yeah,
That's not even really disparaging them too much. It's just we have a top team. Their players do not really play at top clubs, so it just is what it is. And then moving on to Panama, I would say about the same sort of assessment where Panama, in World Cup qualifying, we've had our issues going there, but when we played them in USA, I think it was 5-1
yeah,
in World Cup qualifying. And again, if again, it's going to be, it's not going to be a hostile environment. When we get teams in the USA, we tend to do really well. I think it's when we have to play away and there's all these sort of, you know, side shows that happen in Concacaf qualifying that can happen. But Panama, that should be a routine win. I know they play us, and I know in the Gold Cup they got a good result, but that wasn't really our proper team. And I think two straightforward wins. I would expect 3-0, and maybe even a 3-0 again in the second game. And then it goes down to that Uruguay team. That Uruguay team is brilliant. I don't want to be negative, but I actually don't see us winning that game because they are
yeah,
so good. But it shouldn't really matter. And ultimately, whether we beat Uruguay, lose to Uruguay, draw to Uruguay, obviously we want to win. That would be a big boost for us to beat a top team. But you're either going to be playing Brazil or Colombia in the next round, which is going to be really difficult regardless.
yeah. And you just talk about Colombia. In 2006, you guys went to the semi-final against Argentina. You guys lost that 1-0. I think it 1-0. And you guys played the third and fourth game against Colombia, and you guys actually lost that. And go back to the Centenario, you guys finish on top of a group where, you have Paraguay, Costa Rica, you have Colombia. You and Colombia shared joint 6 points on top of the group you guys went through. So you played, a big team, in 2016. You proved in 2016 that, look, I mean, it's different sets of players, but it's the same country, and these players will be looking at the Centenario like, how can we match that performance that the team made in Centenario to the semi-final came for? That was actually a big achievement, with a squad that was actually right above, in their prime age, at one point, but this young generation, these players, they must be looking at that. Greg Berhalter must be looking at 2016, what that national team done. If I said it's going to be tough for you guys after the knockout round, will you be surprised? Yeah.
I mean, as you were saying, that 2016 with the Copa America was a brilliant result. The only thing I can say is, it's all about where you draw in this, and
Yeah,
I think the fact that we have to play our quarterfinal, either Brazil or Colombia. I mean, in 2016, I think it was Ecuador in Seattle, which was
yeah,
a
you guys
much
played
more
Ecuador,
a
but that was
much
a
more
very good
winnable
team
game.
also, with Antonio
I
Valencia.
Ecuador is okay, but they're no Brazil or Colombia right now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? I just think we have an uphill battle on us in that quarterfinal. It doesn't matter who we have to play. I think it's in Vegas or Phoenix, depending on which seed we go. It'll be an away game for us. It's just going to be a very tough to get through.
You know what I want to ask you? Why, you guys going to play? You guys will be packed the house. Where you guys play Bolivia?
Dallas, Texas.
Huh?
Dallas.
Dallas. You guys play Dallas. I'm expecting you guys should fill that stadium. But the game in the knockout, I expect you guys should get at least more fans out than Uruguay, Bolivia, and Panama. But in the next round against Colombia and Brazil, I don't expect you guys to be. So the Colombian, they are terrific with their supporting all these South American teams. Ecuador, they will be traveling numbers. Argentina, Brazil, Colombia is on a run like 22, 23 games unbeaten. So it will be tough. This is not a Colombia team that was in the past that failed to make it to the last World Cup. This is, some new bloods, new coach, new system. Yes, you have some old head, some experience player. James is still there, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And my prediction, I think, the US will stop at quarterfinal. I think that's where they will stop. If they move on to get to the last four, it will be a surprise one for me. I think this team is not fully built as yet. As you said, going away to games, that's when this team get the test, playing against Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador in Copa America in the US. It's like it will be a away game for you guys, so it will transcend the same energy onto the players. So I think if they can get over that hurdle, just by playing away games, play to tough environment, and the crowd be on top of them, I think that's the next thing Greg Berhalter need to unlock, with this national team. You agree with me?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I definitely don't think we can expect to be beating Colombia or Brazil. I think there's a lot of narrative talking in the US that, oh, USA has to make a semifinal for it to be a success or for Berhalter to keep his job. I mean, that's just not looking at the reality. I mean, Brazil and Colombia are two top teams. Probably one of them goes on to win, to be honest. If we had been on the other side of the draw, maybe if we're saying, oh, we have to play Ecuador in
Yeah,
a quarterfinal, I would say okay, we should win that. But Colombia and Brazil and
yeah, yeah,
the current groups they have, it's
yeah,
hard to see us win. If we were to win, it would be one of our biggest wins ever,
yeah.
to be honest.
Looking at the squad, you have three. I think you have three MLS players: Shotmore, Sean Johnson, and Miles Robbins. Is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think I
Let me
think
see.
around three MLS players.
Is Miles Robinson in the squad? Let me just double check
I
that.
think he's in the squad. He played for Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah.
Shotmore played for I think Nashville, and Sean Johnson I think played for another club.
Yeah.
But looking at it, you know, who the midfield three. I think Greg Berhalter have some big decision to make. McKenny is probably the highlight of that midfield, the one that always really getting game time, the one that is really producing at his club. Musa, not much game time, under Stefan
Mm.
Pioli at AC Milan. Giorena, the loan move from Dortmund to Nottingham Forest didn't work out as though he wanted to work out. Still there's issue. Tyler Adams, just came off injured just around the back of the Nations League. Did I miss someone?
Well, I think if you're talking about players that have had a great season in the midfield, I mean, Johnny Cardoso has
Manny
been
Cardoza,
phenomenal for his club, and I
for
think
Real
he's got to
Betis.
be, yeah, he's got to be in the 11. I think, as you were saying, he's a guy that's been playing. He's been a top performer in La Liga, and he's got to be in the team. But ultimately, I think with the midfield. I think you got to take each game as it comes. I think what's required against teams like Bolivia and Panama, where you're probably going to have more of the ball,
Yeah.
is different than what you're going to get against, in the Brazil and Colombia, where you're going to be chasing the game a bit.
But
So,
you think Girona did enough in that Jamaica game when he came on and he actually changed the complete dynamic? He gave if the one that got that. I think he got the pass to Adjurai to get that second goal of the game. Did he done enough in those two games to manage a start coming up on Sunday against Bolivia?
well, I mean, Gio Reyna, he's undeniably talented going forward. I mean, I don't think that's in question. I think for me, what's always been a little bit concerning is his work rate on defense. If he because I think in these games like this, everyone's got to buy into defending. You can't really have anyone just walking around. Against Brazil, I really saw that he was bought into defending. So I'd be very keen to have him if he's going to play that way every game, where he's willing to be on both sides of the ball.
Hmm.
Then he's a top player. We just
Yeah.
can't have it where he's thinking, oh, we're playing Bolivia, oh, we're playing Panama, and he can just chill. Do you know what I'm saying?
You know, I think Giorena is the most talented and gifted midfielder in that US rank, to be honest. This boy he's so talented, I guess he got it from, his dad, but I mean it's just the attitude problem. Can he look at Bolivia and look, we have to take care of business. Let's go out there and do what we need to do in the game. But I think midfield selection, Craig Berhalter must get it right. He must get that balance, and get that shape where the midfield three can actually connect with the front three. Talking about the front three, Christian Pulisic, when you're talking about statistics for all the wingers in the Copa America, he's second behind Vinicius Jr. He have broke Ricardo Kaka 18 years record standing of getting, double figures, yeah, in assists and goals, for AC Milan. When he compares his goals and his assists, I think it's combined to around 25. His best ever season of his career, the highlight of his career. He is the leader. They call him Captain America. Is this the time that he's going to prove to the world that 2026, this is what you're going to get from Christian Pulisic?
Yeah, I think as you were saying, he's had such a good season at AC Milan, and people kind of wrote him off a little bit. He had been struggling at Chelsea for a few years, really, not getting consistent playing time, and I think people were almost a bit dismissive of him
Yeah.
going to Italy, and he's just been phenomenal. And you can tell that, when he plays for the USA, his level even increases. He's just one of those players that when they play for their national team, he just really gets up for it. And, people say sometimes, he's very introverted, but he just seems like in the USA group that he's always like having a laugh, but also, he's a very, he can lead the group. And, it's impressed me his evolution because maybe initially I wasn't fully bought in, or, I was a bit doubtful, but I think he's the perfect captain, leads by example. And, yeah, I can't speak highly enough of him. And I really think he's the guy to take us forward.
Yeah. I think, Greg Berhalter gonna have to be careful on how he really sets up this team, because it's easy to shut down a US men's national team. You just have to get the left side, Anthony Robinson and Pulisic. Once you get that wing clamped down, I think you already in 60 to 70% of trying to control the game and actually go on to get something really good from the game. So it's up to Berhalter and his coaching staff to really shape out different areas and pattern of getting Christian Pulisic free in that little, his little small package drifting, right? On his right foot, and how he's going to link up. The big problem is the center forward. There's not enough goals coming from there in tournaments from the center forward position. And Greg, as a coach, that's where he's been failing for me mostly, getting the best out of centre forward. You have Adjuride, you have Pepe, you have Josh Sargent, you have Boligun, you even have Jordan Pickford, that's his name. Players that he not
Yeah.
managed to get the best out of the strikers. You know, you have Timothy Weah, who naturally locked down that right hand side for himself. When I look on this team, Pulisic, Boligun, Weah, and in that front three, I don't see anyone else on the bench who's as much as explosive as those two players that can literally change the game. Yes, Adjuride played a little wide for Coventry. Josh Sargent is strength is to play down the middle. Tillman, yes, he's a little bit flexible, can play in a number 10 or he can play on the wing, which he done in the Eredivisie. But I don't see that natural game changer. Brandon Aronson he's not that flying winger. You understand what I'm trying to say? That natural winger to get off the bench to change the game. And I think that's why a lot of times the US, when they fail in the first 45 minutes, it naturally goes wrong because there's not much game changer on the bench for wingers.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I know Tim Way hasn't played a lot for his club, but I think he's looked fairly decent in a couple friendlies that we've had coming into this tournament. But you are right. I think it's unfortunate. I mean, we haven't had a lot of national team games in the past, year. Past 6 months, we've not had too much. I mean, Haji Wright really kind of burst on the scene this year, getting all these goals at Coventry. Josh Sargent as well, kind of unexpected, his
Yeah,
sort of rebirth, and that now he's carrying a bit of an injury, so it's a bit difficult to try and get these guys integrated when there's only been 3 games, 4 games.
yeah,
But I do think that guys like Haji Wright and Josh Sargent kept me, game changers off the bench. They've been scoring goals at a really decent clip, and then they can be involved for sure. It's just it's unfortunate we just haven't had the game time to really integrate them. Aronson is another one where again, okay, yeah, he's had a poor season. He's had probably a couple poor seasons now, but again, I liked what I saw when he came off against the on the bench against Brazil. Like he came in, he put a shift in, and nearly scored a couple times. He got around, got about it. So I think more of that. I think some players might surprise you.
Yeah, he's going to have to play his ball really well because these teams and these coaches are quality. This is not Gold Cup. This is not Concacaf Champions League. These teams study you day in and day out. They have the highest technology. To get the best statistics and analysis on their opponent team, which I think all national team do. But these bigger teams in the CONMEBOL, it's something different. They do it on a different level. But overall, though, where the goal is going to come from outside of Christian Pulisic because, Polygon is just not putting the ball in the back of the net when it comes down to the big occasions.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't see us, the USA, as a team really scoring loads of goals against the big teams, anyways. Bolivia and Panama, that could be, goals by committee, or maybe Balogun or whoever ends up starting, Pepe, will get a bunch of goals in those games. But when it comes to the big opponents, if we are going to beat Uruguay or Brazil or Colombia, it's not really going to be, we're never going to blow them out, right? It's probably going to only be one goal in it, 1-0, a 2-1. So, as much as, yeah, it is concerning maybe that we don't have, loads of goals, at least at international level in the attack outside of Pulisic. I think we can manage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right now, Ryan. I'm looking at some results. Some past friendly games. The Brazil game where you guys drew 1-1, the Colombia the 5-1, the Germany 3-1. You guys beat Ghana, and I think you played a friendly game. Is it Uzbekistan Oman in September, where you won
Yeah.
those games, and the World Cup game that you guys lost against Netherlands. This is the time where you guys not going to play any World Cup qualifiers. You guys be searching in Europe for the big occasions. You might be searching for the games in CONMEBOL. The best teams in Asia. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for you guys to get very competitive game. But I think this is one of the best thing could ever happen to the squad where they avoid from playing less real competitive games in terms of tournaments, just to take away the pressure a little bit and really focus and reflect on themselves what they need to work on. Having these meaningless friendly games where you will have less expectation, so they can actually manage their craft. The coach can actually get the best or select the best tactics need for this group of players. So I'm wishing you guys the best in Copa America this time around. I think you guys will make it out of the zone, but from there we're next for you guys. But we're going to move on from the US men's national team. um, you know, but talking about the Copa America Group B, as Jamaica is amongst Mexico, Ecuador, and Venezuela, as I call them, the sleeping giant. Where you rank the Reggae Boys, amongst these three teams?
For me, I think Ecuador is the clear favorites. I really like what that squad's been doing, and going back even to the World Cup. Just like seems like a really complete squad, good players around the park. And then I really think it comes down to between yourselves, Jamaica, and Venezuela for that second spot, because I do not rate Mexico at all. That's
Yeah,
not a USA bias. I just think Mexico has fallen off so hard.
so far way below
Yeah,
par.
I really think. I mean, I'd be disappointed for you guys if you can't get a win on the first game against Mexico, because they're there to be had. They don't have any top players anymore. You guys can really get after them. So it really goes down to the game against Venezuela, and ultimately, I think you guys could be as good as Venezuela. It's a toss up because it's hard to compare the sides. Is there really any much history between the sides? I mean, it really is. On the day, who knows? Jamaica Venezuela is a crazy game, so we'll see.
Yeah, look, I'm keep telling people this is the best time for the Reggae Boys to be played the L3. If you look at how they've been playing, they're looking like a team that doesn't know how to play football. A powerhouse, a juggernaut for Concacaf. They own Concacaf in between the right around 2004, go all the way up to around 2018, where you guys hit them off the perch. So it's a it's a long way off the cliff for them. The coach, Jamie, is under so much pressure to deliver. He can actually lose his job, not getting out of this zone, even if he go to the quarterfinal, yeah, and don't make it to the semifinal. He can lose his job, said up the performance from the L3, but Ecuador. I love this bunch of players. It's a very young squad. They're rebuilding. It's a totally different sets of players that went to the last World Cup. You could see the transition of the academies players that really coming through from Ecuador into the top five leagues in Europe. So, and they, it's kind of a little bit of uncertain again around a coach, Felix Sanchez, the Qatar coach, that coached him in the World Cup. But I think this is the group where any of those four teams can beat any of them. On their day, Ecuador have qualities. On their day, as much as Mexico is below par, they still have pretty decent players that played locally in the Liga MX. Venezuela, you just don't know what you go with the kid from them as they started their World Cup qualifier on a positive run. They're in fourth position in their region. So anyone really can get a result. But um as you said, Ecuador is your favorite and it's right in between Venezuela and Jamaica, but looking at that game on Saturday, yeah, we need to get a proper start in that game. We know that when a team is under loads of pressure from the hierarchy, the administration, the fans, everyone is looking down on this team, everyone is talking against this team. They want to prove, but if the Reggae Boys can start the game positive and just to let them looking around like what is really going on, it can be a game in the bag. It can be an unbalanced game for them. And I don't see this Mexican team can deal with the pressure as what to come in the near future. So I mean, you can expand on that about the L3. Of dealing with this pressure in this current state of their Copa campaign.
Yeah, for sure. I think as you were saying, like Mexico still has some big players that play in Liga MX, but it's kind of fallen off. A lot of their top players have left Europe now, and the sort of the corruption's a strong word, but the lack of ambition to move players to Europe, I think that's hurt them. Um, so, as we've seen, Mexico has been struggling for results. USA has beaten them so consistently over the past 5, 6 years now. And yeah, I mean, I just feel like Jamaica has those players now. I mean, I don't really know what's the state of play with Leon Bailey and Andre Blake. I mean, those are huge players.
Yeah,
What's the story with them?
Blake
Are they
Blake is a few weeks ago he did a surgery. It's like his knee, and he's scheduled to be out around 4 to 6 weeks. He should be back in the back end part of the group stage. Not sure if he's going to be fully fit, to play, but let's see what's going to happen there as well. But I mean, Leon Bailey, it's creating a massive, massive story right now in Jamaica. It's the biggest headline back home. I don't really want to dive much into it as a lot of people have their say. Yeah, we're here to talk about the Copa America. We're here to talk about the players that's currently in the squad. He decided that look, he need a time away from football. You need to enjoy the time with his family, his son, whatever, and he's going to keep a big party in Jamaica the day before the game against Mexico. So that party will be on Friday, and the game will actually be on Saturday. So a lot of people have that disconnected right now with Leon Bailey. So don't expect him to come to Copa America. He will be out, as him said on his Instagram, and his agent, his father, his manager said it as well. So we will be at the Copa America with 25 men on the roster. So I mean, overall, no, looking at the Copa America with the six Concacaf teams that's in it, Panama, Costa Rica, US, Jamaica, and Canada. Canada will actually be playing tonight, yeah, against the Albi Celeste in the Mercedes Stadium. Which one of the six you see have the one of the best opportunity to go the deepest run in the tournament?
Well, I definitely like USA's chances.
Yeah,
I like Jamaica's chances. I think of everyone else, I would say Canada really strikes me as having a good chance to do well. It's important they kind of keep the game close tonight. I wouldn't expect a win or a draw by any means, but if they can keep it close, the other two teams in that group, Peru and Chile,
actually,
they don't they don't do a lot to impress me. And I think
yeah,
Canada, they've got players. They've got some top players around the pitch. They got Jesse Marsh, who I really rate as a manager, and they just got a 0-0 draw away at France. I know people say it's
yeah.
a friendly, but they've got abilities there. So yeah, I'm high on Canada. I think they're good. I don't really see the other teams in Concacaf doing a whole lot. I think Costa Rica, unfortunately for them, in with
Yeah, they are a
Brazil and
rebuild.
Colombia. Yeah.
Yeah, they are a rebuild with that. This current Costa Rica team. Let me get it. The average age for this squad is 24. The oldest is Joel Campbell, who's at 31 years old, and the youngest is 19. They had 7 players in the current squad that went to the last World Cup. So a little bit of experience, but when you take away, the Navas, when you take away the Brian Ruiz, the Matarita, when you take away those players, it's a massive hit on them, you know. So it's a pretty young squad, new coach, the former Ecuadorian coach that brought Ecuador to the last World Cup in Qatar, Gustavo Alfaro, very good coach, Argentinian, so he's doing like a rebuild, and they're doing this and using this tournament as a preparation to continue their progress in World Cup qualifier, which will be all the way next year. But they were looking forward to the Nations League. They want to prove and they want to build. So this is a really good opportunity to come to right time around, for Costa Rica with these young players. So when I look on their key players, the captain, Francesco Calvio, a farmer of Minnesota, is currently playing for Juarez in Liga MX. Joel Campbell is playing locally, in Costa Rica, 139 caps with 27 goals. Brandon Aguilera, the young, talented player in Nottingham Forest team, is such a beautiful player. So if they can manage, to bring through and develop these players the right way in the national team, look, Alfaro is a really good coach. So I think it's a really good setup. But the Costa Rican fans, they should have at least some little patience with this team. Don't expect much from them in this group. So yeah, that's where my thoughts there with Costa Rica, and it's up to all they can get to just try to learn to play against the bigger teams, learn what the bigger teams will be doing if you make it to the World Cup in 2 years time. So this is a massive opportunity for them. And the Panama team, big news, the captain Godoy, yeah, he is out, he's ruled out of the tournament, he's not in. But this team, I know you've seen this team, in the Nations League in the quarterfinal against Mexico, and in the third and fourth against Jamaica. Damas Christians, what a job he has been doing, for the last few years, 3 to 5 years, at this national team. Expand on that, about the job you see this man is really doing, and where he took the Panamanian team and the level they are at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's hugely impressive. I mean, I was down there in Panama in 2021 when they beat us.
Yeah,
They know he's doing a lot with not a whole lot of resources. Like Panama, not a big country. Football is, it's big there, but it's not, it's not huge like maybe in some of the other Central American
yeah,
countries, not as big. I mean, it's just, yeah, he's doing a really impressive job, has to be said. And Panama, as I said, if they weren't in our group with USA, I mean, maybe, but I think USA and Uruguay are too much
yeah,
for them. But definitely, Panama would be a team that I would be thinking I would say almost should be making the next World Cup.
yeah, yeah.
There's,
Very good, very good,
yeah.
very good squad. Tough squad, tough players to beat. I think one thing though, I think Thomas Christiansen need to get, and I think he brought someone in, Eduardo Guerrero, a young player that played in Ukraine, in Zoria. He played 20 games last season and scored 9 goals. I think he's just 23, 24. Farhado, yeah, the man that playing in South America. I think he's playing currently in Peru. He is the one that is going to lead the line up front for the Panamanian team. This Panama team, when you look at them, they've done everything what a football team should do, but except the main thing to put the ball in the back of the net. And when I look at Fajardo, 46 appearances, 9 goals for the leading man for Panama. That's not good enough. It's just not good enough with clearly these opportunities that he kept missing. So I think if Christensen really can get a sharp shooter up front with the likes of Ishmael Diaz, Barcinas, Eric Davis, these man in the midfield, and they have such a beautiful player that play for Houston. Yeah, I think
Mm.
his name is Alberto Carrasquilla. Such a beauty. How much about this player?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him, and I saw a tweet actually talking about. Yeah, I didn't realize it was a meme talking about him being linked to Real Madrid because every time I've seen him, I thought, he's good enough. He could play at a club like that. He's a cracking player, and he can control the park, and he's a brilliant player. So I can't speak highly enough of him. He always stands out when we're playing them.
Yeah, so sorry, but I think it's going to be a very good tie because Panama will give US a run for their money. I think everyone should beat the Bolivia team in this group. I think Panama, Uruguay, and US at least will finish this group with 3 or more points because you have a team that not really equipped enough. Bolivia, and I think they're missing their top marks, but I think his name is Romero. I don't remember that number 9 that they usually have. He's not going to be in the squad. So everyone should get at least 3 points. But I think if Panama can get something from the US game, anyone win that game, you will say naturally will go to the next round. So if US win against Panama, they will go through to the next round because they will beat Bolivia. And if Panama beat the US, they will advance to the next round because I don't see it's going to be a straight up game against US with Uruguay or Panama against Uruguay. The level of football that Uruguayan team is being playing, not many teams can manage and can match this intensity. Darwin Nunes, a player that have scored 8 goals combined friendlies since World Cup qualifier started. He scored 5 goals in World Cup qualifier, yeah, and he scored a hat trick against Mexico. So that's 8 goal combined. He just look a different player when he's not wearing that red shirt, and it's just the Uruguayan pride. You get what I say? It's just that in that local thing that they have in their country that you expect the bare minimum to work for the national team. Darwin Nunes, such a beautiful player for Uruguay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Uruguay team is just full of top players. I mean, Fede Valverde, Bentancur. It's just class players. I
Yeah.
mean, and with Bielsa as the manager, it doesn't surprise me at all that they are just bossing World Cup qualifying. And as I said, to be playing them, I really think USA is on the back foot. Maybe we put out a 10 out of 10 performance like we did against Brazil and nab something, but it's definitely a game I'm thinking not expecting to get points out of, and
Yeah.
and yeah, USA will have to take care of business in the first
Yeah.
two games and then
Panama is
take the
that game
pressure off.
where the second game, Panama, especially when their first game will be against Uruguay, more like they will go into the second game with no points on the board. So Bolivia is their last game, so the US do not want to get or drop any points whatsoever on Panama. So their last game with Bolivia. So yeah, it's very tricky. It's a very tricky game. But Group A, the Canucks, Canada, Chile, Peru, and Argentina. I fancy them. But before we go there, what's your takes on Jesse March appointed as the coach? It's last month.
I really rate Jesse Marsh. I think he got a bit of a raw deal towards the end at Leeds United. He's top manager. I mean, maybe people say he's a bit, he only plays one way, which
Yeah,
is maybe a criticism. Especially in a tournament like this where playing this sort of attacking football when maybe don't have the players for it.
yeah,
But he got that for the first game. What was it, 4-0 loss to Netherlands? That was worrying. But then
that
they
was
got
worrying.
They got 0-0 against France. That's good. I mean, they've got that team is full of quality. That Canada team.
Yeah.
Alfonso Davies is one of the best players in the world, right? And it just got so many players there that are top players. So the unfortunate thing for Canada is they have to open up against Argentina. That could be a bad loss, and that could really hurt everything going forward. If they were playing Peru or Chile to start, I'd feel better towards them advancing. But I think if they start with a bad loss, it could hurt them. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think I think this group have sets up the perfect way Jesse Marsh really wanted it, because when you look at it, he will get rid of Argentina in the first game. Yeah. And then, let me see who Canada will play in the second game. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. So Canada will play Peru next. That will be a massive turnaround, and then Argentina will play Chile. Look at it. If Canada beat Peru in the second game, the next game will be Peru and Chile will actually. No, the next game will be Chile and Peru will looking to play Argentina. So Argentina next two games will be against Chile and Peru. So if they can manage to get positive results from those two games, they will advance to the next group, because as everyone see, they are selected to get maximum 9 points from this group. No one can really touch them. Anyone should get a point, from this Argentina team is probably La Chora, the La Roa, Chile. What they done, still a very good, unique setup, but I think their players have passed their best. This is not 2015, 2016, when they won the double, where their players were 10 years younger than where they at this moment, so I think it sets up really well. So I think if Jesse Marsh can get something from the Peru game and the Chile game, they have a massive chance, because I don't think Peru, Chile, and Chile, and Canada will finish on 6 points. I think the second place will probably finish on probably the most is five. I see all those three teams can beat anyone on a given day. So it's I think Jesse Marsh will fancy, his style of play, the high intensity. Will he play that later? Let's see. And what I saw, I don't know if you saw the how he used Alfonso in the last two games. He played him a little bit deeper in at the left back. Meanwhile, Mauro Bielo was playing him a little bit higher, and John Herdman was actually playing him a little bit higher in the attacking third. But Jesse Marsh came in and played him, fit him in right in his natural position at left back. I'm looking at it. Will he sets up his team just like that, just for the Argentina game? Lionel Messi will be coming down on that right hand side, the pace of Alfonso. So the 1v1, it's going to be a great battle tonight. With Alfonso and Lionel Messi. So I think he's a really good technician. He's looking at the game on a different side. But I don't think they got a better manager. He is the right fit at this moment for them. Where they at, when they qualify for the Qatar World Cup, it's a massive fall off, with John Herdman taking up that Toronto job and Baylor as the interim. So I see Jesse Marsh is the right man to lead this team to glory days again, in the 2026, but I guess, he was gutted not to get that USMN job. I heard he was interviewed. You can highlight and give us some insight on that, the link that Jesse Marsh to the USMN national team, last year.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I think U.S. Soccer always knew that Berhalter was going to be their guy. I think there was no illusions for that. Marsh has been, maybe a little bit more outspoken.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think U.S. Soccer, there is I like Berhalter enough, but it seems to me that there's a decent amount of nepotism and who and if you'll, go with the party line on a lot of things. So I think Berhalter was always kind of going to be the guy. And sometimes they tend to interview or reach out to people almost for show.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I like Marsh. Canada done really well to get him because I think he's way better than the Canada job. That's not even a slight on Canada, but he was a Premier League manager not so long ago, and now he's coaching Canada. So they've done really well. And I think, Canada's got a pretty young group of players. I think he can mold them into a really good group. And I think if they keep him and he stays around until like the World Cup, I think that they could show up really well in that World Cup.
Yeah, I think it's just a moment of time, after the next World Cup, Greg Berhalter will be leaving the post, and again at some time Jesse Marsh will get his opportunity. He really want to coach this job, as he was waiting it for a long time, and I think he said he got, it's a slap in his face of not getting a point for the job, but did you know that, I think it was in March he was scouted by South Korea. When Klinsmann got sacked by South Korea and they lost, I think, the semifinal against Jordan in the Asian Cup, and he turned it down. Because he was really looking towards that US job. So he have turned down a few jobs. What he have said, on the Golasa show. So you know it will come around the next time. It will come around the next time. So we got through, to the 6 teams. So it's now to give us our prediction of, the Concacaf teams and that will actually get out of their zone. Your last brave answer, Group A, Canada. Will, will you put them in that second position?
I'll do it. I'll do it. I like them. I like them.
Yeah.
I'll put them at second. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's get the CONCACAF teams right up there. CONCACAF teams don't really get to the last eight in Copa America. It's usually Mexico and the US. And you remember what happened to Mexico the last time they got out of their zone to Chile?
The seven was it 7-1?
It's 7 or 7-0.
7-0. Oh, 7. Yeah, 7-0. I think. Yeah,
Hey,
I'm more of that.
that
I'm all for that. Yeah, more of
that
that, please.
was one of the saddest time in Mexican football, man. When I was watching that game, the Mexican literally crying in the stadium. They literally crying in the stadium.
I don't even know if they'd be crying this time because I think they come to expect it. I mean,
Yeah, everyone expected it right now.
uh,
I done a video. I think it was on Monday with a Mexican fan, and he said, "Look, I'm taking away my expectation because I know there will something happen in Group B where it just going to broke my heart. Is it that they're going to lose their first game against the Reggae Boys, or they're not just going to get out of their zone? And it will be a disaster. Mexico finished third and not qualify for the knockout round. Jamie Lozano stay are in, are out,
if
stay
they
are
don't,
out.
if Mexico don't qualify for the next round, he has to be sacked. It's not good. It's not good enough. I mean, I like Jamaica and I like Venezuela, but if you're the Mexico national team, you gotta think you're getting out of this group. You have to, and the coach got to go.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Oh, I didn't manage to ask you this question. I said, how you rate the Reggae Boys squad, the roster with these individual talent? Do you see when you watch them against the US? I know you went to that game and also the Panama game. Did you see a identity of what Coach Al Grimson want to do with this sets of players?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you guys were very unlucky to lose to USA. You played a really good game, really well organized. I think, unfortunately for you guys, I think what might let you down is Andre Blake is such
Oh
a big thing for
man.
you guys, and and
Oh
you don't even really have like if in USA we have Turner. If Turner goes down, we've got some other goalies. We got
yeah, yeah,
Horvath,
got
who's
Jack
got
Stefan. You got
yeah,
Simone.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then for
you have a
Jamaica,
pretty good goalkeeper.
I
But our backed up
yeah,
goalkeeper, you know who is the backed up goalkeeper? Jamal Wade, who played for Locomotive, I think El Peso Locomotive in the USL.
okay, okay,
Kanye Boyce Clark is the academy under 23 goalkeeper for Reading in the championship, and Shaquan Davis, local player from Mount Pleasant. So you could see the massive dropped
yeah.
off. I heard a lot of people have said this. The goalkeeping position is not an issue for the Reggae Boys. If there is no Andre Blake, it is a massive problem because when you watch that Canada game, not but that Canada game, but when you watch Andre Blake keeping for the Reggae Boys, he is one of the most consistent player for us in the last decade. Yeah, so the once you have a very good goalkeeper, more likely, your defenders will be a little bit more confident of either they're going to step up or judge their gameplay and how they're going to reflect on the strikers. Now there's no Andre Blake in this group stage. I highly know that there will be no Andre Blake because of the injury that he have, a goalkeeper, a knee injury. That's has to be the strongest point of a goalkeeper, his knee, his joints to reflect his agility, so I don't see Andre Blake keeping in this Copa America. So I think he's more likely there for experience, nurture the young players, more likely so, but I think this is a massive gap all, in the Reggae Boys squad at this moment, so I said 25, I will put it is 24 men squad. Amari Bell is struggling with injury for the last couple of months. So we have a pretty decent starting lineup that can be named on Saturday. So it's up to the boys, how they're going to play. I think you might see a similar game what we played against US in the semi-final. A pretty mid-low block. Try to hit them on the counter. Try to use the wing players. Is he going? I don't know if he's going to play with a back four. Is he going to play with a back three? I don't know, but hopefully he can play with the back three. Did you surprise the Wrecking Boys played a back three in that game?
I think everything about that Reggae Boys performance surprised USA. I mean, it was just a really, really good performance. Definitely, I don't think USA was expecting anything that came from that match.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, defensively, you guys are sound. You've got some very good defenders in there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, really.
uh,
Without that Ethan Pinnock.
yeah, I mean, Pinnock would be a big one for you guys, but Hector, really good player.
Yeah, very good player.
Yeah. And as you said, you can bunker in, and you've got forwards that can go and get you a smash and grab, can go and get you a 1-0.
Yeah,
Antonio still got it. Damari Gray is a brilliant player, and
yeah,
then Shamar Nicholson always shows up for you guys. He gets goals
yeah,
for fun
yeah,
for you
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah.
Bro,
Always getting the goals for us. Always really good player. I mean, we 35 minutes away from the start of the Copa America. I'm closing out right now. I'm leaving it for your last say. I know you want the US to win. I know you want the US to go forward, but which other team you've been looking at in this Copa America to actually get hold your point. Which team you're looking at to get the finish on first to be champion, and which team is your dark horse?
I think for champion, it's hard to not see Argentina. They have the easier side of the draw where they really only have to compete with Ecuador, so they have a pretty clear route to the final. And then they just got, they have Messi, they have all the quality players. It's not that changed of a team from 2022. So I can't see a way past Argentina winning. Dark horse, I don't know if you can really call them a dark horse. Is Brazil? Brazil's not really a dark horse,
No,
but I think
no. I
the way
mean,
the way that they've been playing
I
in
mean,
past,
no, I don't think I don't think Brazil.
they don't count.
Brazil and Argentina is a clear
Um,
favorite to win every
uh,
Copa America.
it's hard because I think you look around, and I don't know if there really is a so-called dark horse. I mean, if anyone's a dark horse, it might be USA, right? Because there's not expectations there. I mean, Uruguay has done so well in qualifying; it's hard to call them a dark horse, right? Because
Yeah,
they've done so well.
to be honest, I pick Uruguay as my dark horse team. Even though they won it 15 times with Argentina, Brazil won it 9 times. You surprised how much Copa America did Brazil have 9 times?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Brazil, like, sometimes it's a funny tournament, this
Yeah,
Copa
it's
America,
very
right?
weird. Very weird.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not played all the time, and sometimes you get, top squads, sometimes you don't. It's a funny one, so you never know what you're gonna get in Copa America.
yeah, but I have
It's
Uruguay
good.
as my dark horse. I have Uruguay as my dark horse, but someone just said, wouldn't you call Colombia a dark horse? Jampiel, Jampiel, big up yourself. Colombia, great team, doing such a really good job. Luis Diaz, this will be his tournament. This will be Luis Diaz tournament to prove that, he's one of the top elite players in CONMEBOL, you know. But I think when you look at it, right, why I choose Uruguay over Colombia with the prestige of the national team, Uruguay is the Italy for Europe. They just know how to win a tournament. They have that thing where it doesn't matter. They won the first three Copa America in 4 years. In four cycles, I must say. They won the first two inaugural tournaments. So they know how to win a tournament. So they have an experienced South American manager, Marcelo Bielsa. So I think and his system kind of suit the way how the Uruguayan football want to be played, really fast, really dirty, aggressive, So I think he can get the best out of those players. So that's why I put Uruguay as the favorite over Colombia, because Uruguay is a tournament team. They just know how to get it done. No one expect in 2010 that Uruguay should supposed to went on that run in the semifinal. So yeah, I think they are the Italy for Europe. You agree
Yeah,
that?
no, I like the Uruguay prediction. I do think they're a little bit better quality than Colombia. Colombia are on a really good moment, but I mean the players that Uruguay have, they're at top clubs, and Colombia don't really have that. So I think Uruguay definitely is a team to consider. It's just that side of the draw is just so difficult where you've got really one side with Argentina and Ecuador
Yeah,
almost on their own, and then the other side where you've got Brazil, Colombia, Uruguay, you've got USA in there. I mean, it's a big bottleneck of teams. So, whoever gets out of that side is going to be beaten up. They'll have played a lot of tough games to get to the final. Whereas, Argentina might, really only have to play one really top team. You know.
yeah, yeah. So I think as he said, many people have Uruguay as the favorite outside of Argentina. I think, look, if someone come and said Uruguay is the team that going to be favorite over Brazil, I just can't blame them. You saw the Ronaldinho comment. I think it was pretty harsh. I think it was pretty harsh. Look, the part that really got me looking like, why you say that? Why not want to watch the players? I remember Ronaldinho have a lot of hiccups in this tournament. Yeah, he have a lot of hiccups in this tournament. 2006, that was his year to be the man in the World Cup, and he really did nothing in that World Cup when he got that golden boot, the R9, the R10. He really did nothing in that World Cup. So I think during that time he was going through a lot of sadness. He have a few family members got their house burnt down, and he wanted the support from Brazilian people. You understand? So as much as everyone who watch football and have eyes to see the state of the current that the Brazilian national team is in, there's no much Brazilian flair, the identity. There's not much world class player. There's no world class player in this team. Along when you look at Vinicius Junior, or you take away a Neymar, is that just a mediocre squad? I'm sorry, but when you look at the midfielders, there's no players from the top. You say the top five clubs in the world in that midfield. You have players from Wolves, Aston Villa, Fulham. I'm sorry, but it's just a mediocre Brazil team. Okay, so I could understand that why you said that.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. I mean, it's to me at least, you say, okay, they're Premier League players, but you are right. Compared to past Brazil teams, it's not a good enough standard. And as we were saying earlier, like it's just not the same sort of beautiful football, Jogo Bonito that they play. They don't
Yeah,
really do that anymore. There's no flair, there's no technician. I really think drawing to the USA sent them overboard because they do not see USA as an equal or even a near peer. And I think it just sent them into a spiral where they just couldn't believe themselves.
yeah. So everyone that's really joining, we are about to close out as the Copa America is 30 minutes, and I know Ryan want to go and get prepared, probably get his popcorn or his glass of wine. You had a long flight, from coming back from Brazil, so it's a good time. Look, you spent around 2 months in Brazil, touring all around, watching the Copa Libertadores, the Sudamericana. I seen it all where you captured a full house stadium, where you captured there's just no one in the away section. What is that though about? if you take away Boca Junior, River Plate, and the rest of the, when you look, I would say Racing, those teams in Argentina and the top five teams in Brazil. When you look the teams from Ecuador, Evo, Atletico Nacional, juniors, those teams, Evo Caracas, Quito, Barcelona, Emelec in Ecuador, they don't travel with much away fans into Libertad. What's the sites around that?
I would say again, I think it's almost like with
Is it
Concacaf
that is
Champions
it that the
League.
continent is too big?
I would say it is. Yeah, I would say it's, as I said, a bit like Concacaf Champions League, where the distances are so big, um, and it's not overly cheap to fly from Colombia to Brazil or Ecuador to Brazil. Europe, it's a lot cheaper to get around, so I think they get bigger away sections and Champions League nights. But
Yeah.
yeah, it can be a little bit logistically difficult for some of those clubs from maybe the northern part of South America to get
Yeah,
down to Brazil.
because I saw a game that Boca Junior played, the River Plate from Uruguay, and it was a full house in the away section by the Boca Junior fans, and I was like, "What?" This is a funny thing. River Plate in Buenos Aires, Boca Juniors in Buenos Aires, but the River Plate that in Uruguay, they look at that River Plate team in Uruguay as one of their biggest rivals just because
Mm.
they name River Plate, and it was a lot of chaos in the streets of Uruguay, so a lot of war happened in that game, so South American football is just crazy, man. Hopefully, I'll go to plans next summer. I can actually, live and experience those ones. But Ryan, thanks for really passing through and Nicaragua Meadows. It's a really pleasure to have you. Hopefully, after some games of the Copa America, we can have you back to analyze some of the games, the US men's national team, and just, the insights around Copa America. Really appreciate it. Your last word to the fans right now, current watching.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was great talk. I've done a bunch of these, and this is probably one of the highest level talks I've had. So I've really enjoyed it, and you're really knowledgeable. So fair play. And all the best to you guys, the Reggae Boys. We're all
Yeah.
kind of Concacaf here, so buzzing for that, and yeah, can't wait.
Come on, Reggae Boys. The people are anticipating about Saturday, but today is when Copa America start. Yeah, today, as they will say in Spanish, La Copa America comienza hoy. So today is the day that Copa America is start. Did you get any Portuguese?
No,
Nah, come on.
I know for the girls. I know for the girls. You say
Okay.
mais linda, most beautiful.
All right, brother. Bless up. Thanks for coming through, man.
Uh,
Really appreciate
Take
it,
care,
man.
man.
Yeah. Yes, people, that is Ryan. Yeah, this is an overdue conversation that we're supposed to add. It's supposed to add from when the US played Jamaica in the semi-final in Arlington, Texas. But because who watch the show know that I have some whole flight issues leading up to that game and couldn't make it into Arlington, Texas. But really appreciate Ryan's service and everyone. The Copa America start today. Today, can we see the upset that every fans are waiting on? Can the Canucks, yeah, can Jesse March get the better of Lionel Scaloni and Lionel Messi? Yeah, can he send the Albe Celeste fans packing their bag out of the Mercedes Stadium today in Atlanta, Georgia? So people, it is 25 minutes away from kickoff, so I'm going to watch the pre-match coverage and just to listen, the analyst talk and look at the scenery in Atlanta, Georgia. So people, bless up on yourself, man. Really appreciate everybody come on the chat. And remember, if you haven't liked the video, please like the video on your way out. Yeah, please like the video on your way out. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow I want to do a preview. Yeah, I'm going to do a preview on the game, the Reggae Boys versus Mexico. Oh my, I forgot. Oh my, I forgot. But I mean, I want to say one word before I leave. Yesterday Dan was in the chat, and as I told him, He's someone that I really admire whenever he call him and whatever call show it is on YouTube. Yeah, I heard him on different platforms, but mostly hear him on Ryan. But this page, the John Peel fan, this is another story. I covered the Jamaican Premier League. He covered the Jamaican Premier League. I have admire this page because I think we started to cover the Jamaican Premier League. I don't know if he realized when I was started do it. Just around the same time when he started, we need more coverage. We need more people from the space to cover local league, as it's important to support the local league. Yeah, it's very important to support local league in Jamaica. And I know I kind of get drift off around probably, you would say I just around the knockout run because I was having difficulties, not just me, but other people around the US did having a little difficulties, trying to get in of the Sportsmax app. It was having a lot of technical difficulties with a lot of people. So I was the one that got trapped in the box, was having technical difficulties. So I couldn't get to watch a game. So I couldn't get to trap my analysis and my little thing that I do. So Champion, you're doing a really good work. Yeah, you're doing a really good work on the Jamaican Premier League, you know, and I don't miss a episode whenever you drop a Jamaican Premier League content. What I think I need to start do more. I think I need to start to comment, but I watch I watch a lot of the channel, but I'm not really, you might see me here in a talk a lot, but I'm not really that big of a communication like talk. I'm more like a quiet person when this camera shuts off. So I think I need to start to comment more. But I watch, John Peel and he analyze the game at the highest level, for the JPL, and hopefully next year, he can pick up that same journey and actually go again and start to do his thing. And next, not, I'm saying next year, next season, start even, our Premier League clubs, Arnett Gardner, I think, will start off the season by playing in that tournament, the Caribbean tournament, to get to the level of the other zone to get to the Concacaf Champion League. So yeah, people really appreciate everyone. It's 20 minutes before that match kickoff. Yeah, I'm looking forward for that game. Big game. I think Jesse March will give Leonard Scaloni a run for his money in that game. I think so. If the Canadian team managed to probably play close to par with the Argentinian team in the first 30 minutes and try to get, go into the second half into like 1-0 down or positive 0-0, I think they stand a chance to get something out of the game. But Canada, they need to make sure that they get the job done with Peru and Chile. It's massive and it's important. That's what I just said. Argentina next two game will be against Chile and Peru, so they will more likely drop points in those games. So it's up to Canada, to get points from those two games at left back. So it's massively in Jesse Marsh and the quality of players, the young players in that team have. I think you have some very athletic player, Ishmael Kone, that midfielder from Watford. He remind me of the Kante for the Canada team. The way I saw him play in the two friendly games that they played, the Netherlands game and also the France game. It's unbelievable. He's such a talent. I think if not this season or the next season, he will be on his way out of Watford, but people I will be out, but yeah, but as I say, John Peel, really appreciate your show because you don't have much people that cover the Jamaican Premier League, and we need a lot more traffic go that way. If we can help, to identify and highlight the players, and YouTube is a big space. A lot of people watch YouTube to get information, so, and I'm pretty much sure that people watch your channel. And so as I have gotten a few Instagram texts, yeah, about my Jamaican Premier League show and oh, I deeply analyze the Jamaican Premier League, yeah, and people watched it and people want to hear from me because you don't really have much information on the Jamaican Premier League. It's like information is so stagnant when it comes down to JPL. You have to dig and research. Yeah, I have Evo. I have I have something that in it called my JPL Stats Corner. Let's see if I can find it. I have my JPL Stats Corner. This is it. This is my JPL Stats Corner right here. You know, yeah, I have. I used to give stats on all the match days. You know, but it's very difficult to get stats on Jamaican Premier League. It's very difficult. You know, and I have bought the Y Scout, the partnership that they have with the JPL, and that's how I managed to get some of the statistics and get some of the real stats and players, so I can highlight it and put it out there as well. But people best up on yourself, alright, you're just checking in, but I'm about to leave, I'm about to get myself ready for that big game, but people, I will be out right now.
Them for know say the champion, Spagga Benz represent for the Reggae Boyz, and for know say a big event. In a national stadium, some boy, a little team over there, so them better lay down and play them. I say, we are step out with a big star there, man like Demari Gray, large up yourself. You don't know the things there, see it? With them up on a long chat, you don't know, say I slap up them nets like that, Bobby Reid, Boyz, man like Damian Lowe, Leon Bailey, the star, them for know. Ready for them, Them better know. We tell them say them bad team over there, so I'm a bad team over here. So Reggae Boyz we over here, so we not afraid of no one. And anything for happen, I go happen. And if it happen, them fi know say Reggae Boyz we are the champion. And bad team over there, so them on a bad team over here. So Reggae Boyz we over here, so ever ready for the world. Fight you over buckle, any obstacle we tackle. When make we feel check, no Reggae Boy we score first car. We are not troublemaker, but we are gonna be the fire setter. Any hour that our team prefer. Boy full of words like